welcome, everyone. Here we are, everyone. This is week 2. So today we are going to be talking about our customer. Your customer is ever changing and you're always in the process of discovering who this customer is. And Jill Nelson is going to walk us through this process. She's going to share what her experience has been, what she learned, and she has been kind enough to share the customer persona template with us. So I just put that corrected link on the chat. If you guys still have issues accessing it, just let me know. I will be monitoring the chat as well. So hopefully you all have access and are able to see it, make a copy, and work on it. Now, remember that the main session is being recorded. The breakout sessions are not. That is the safe space where you guys can ask questions about your own business. We do want to recognize that this program is funded by the EDA, and that we also have a whole bunch of cities, counties, federal agencies, and nonprofits that also fund our programs in the different communities that we are in. Today, we are on week number 2. We're going to discover our ideal customer and where to find it. Next week, we're going to be talking about generating visibility for your business with a $0 budget. It's focused a lot on publicity and media attention and things like that. We're going to have Ellen Dean do that one, but I will talk about that a little bit after we have the presentation with Jill, so you guys know. Today we are gonna do a raffle. So Robert, whenever you are ready, let me know. Or actually we said that Anna was gonna do it. Sorry. Anna, whenever you're ready, let me know. The raffle consists on one-on-one time with Robert. He talked last week about our message and about being able to refine it. There are 2 options for you guys to touch on during your time with Robert. So this will be either refining your message, making sure that it's in a good place, or doing a startup checkup. As you guys know, Robert worked at the SBDC. He was the director there, and he has been in various entrepreneurship journeys and has an amazing amount of knowledge that will definitely help you out. So even if you are just in that idea stage and you're not clear on where you're going or what the next step needs to be, he can definitely be a great guide in order for you to clarify all of that and see what the next steps are. We're going to have then our presentation with Jill. Then we go into the breakout sessions. We come back with a Q&A. We do the next steps, what's going on next week. Any questions that you guys may have about the program or about any specific things are welcome over there. You can always do it through the chat. And then at 10:30, we'll disconnect. But if you guys want to stay in for a little bit and network, you are welcome to do that. Now, so your cohort leaders are not going to change throughout the program. We have one facilitator that is generally a member of the RAIN team, and then we have a mentor that is a professional in digital marketing. The idea is for you guys to have a very solid lead and foundation in order to cater to your needs better. I know that this is a big group. Your cohorts are still changing because we are like bringing in more data, realizing that maybe some of them are too big. So we're going to be creating an additional cohort. So by next week, we're going to have all of that settled. Everybody will have the same cohort throughout the end of the program. And if any of you have any issues with your cohort assignment, if you have a high school rivalry with somebody that is there, it doesn't matter. Just let us know. We'll make the change. You don't have to explain why. It's all good. All right. And then we have a whole bunch of amazing speakers that are going to be sharing their knowledge throughout the program. This week we have Jill. Next week we're going to have Ellen Jean. And then the next week we're going to have Caroline. And we're going to go over this throughout the program. We hope that you guys get excited about each one of these speakers that we have selected to increase your strategy, like on your abilities to be able to address your digital marketing needs. Sorry, I got all tangled over there. Anyways, if you haven't already, please join our Facebook private group. Over there we share resources, but mainly it is just the place where we get conversations happening and where you guys can connect beyond our sessions. Anybody has any questions about the program? Any questions that are related to all of this that I just talked about? All right, doesn't look like we have any. Okay, so Jill Nelson, I sent you guys an email and I told you a little bit about her. She founded Ruby.com, a very successful online business where people can hire receptionists for their businesses. Jill went through a whole process of discovery. She did not have a background in technology or on marketing, but she did have a background in this service of being a receptionist and what small businesses needed. So she developed this entire company from the ground up. She self-funded everything, and she was able to grow it to hundreds of employees, tens of thousands of clients, and had a successful exit. She is currently retired. She is a private investor, and she's here today to share all of her knowledge with you. Jill is an amazing speaker, and if you guys have any questions from the moment she takes over the microphone, I will be focusing on the chat and I will be writing down all of the questions that you guys have. And if we do not answer them right now, we're going to do our best to answer them either on mentor hours or through email. Okay, so with that, I want to introduce you to Jill Nelson, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen so she comes over.
All right, well, thank you so much for that very lovely introduction, Ani. I really appreciate it. And hello to everyone. It's great to see you today. I appreciate you tuning in. This is now, I think, my third or possibly fourth time giving this customer persona presentation, getting to know your customer. You guys are in great hands and so fortunate to have these breakout sessions with these professional marketers. I am not a marketer. In fact, part of the business success, I think, was about, I so dislike the idea of selling, and I so didn't know where to get customers that my first and most important thing was every customer I have, my intention was to make them so happy with what we were doing that they would stay with us forever, and that they would tell all their colleagues and friends, and that was genuinely my growth strategy. So, but what I learned by being this very customer-centric, customer-first service and product business turned out to be really, really helpful in all aspects of the business, from sales to marketing to product design, everything. And so it's my pleasure to present this discussion today. We're switching things up. In the past, I've given this presentation and then there was homework to do later and talk about it during the breakout session. It was suggested that for those of you who like doing while you're listening, feel welcome to open the homework, and you're not going to offend me if you do it while you're listening to me, and it's not required. This can the homework can be done literally over the lifetime of your business and continually be refined. But it might help, and then we'll use the breakout session to really discuss what the pieces mean, answer any questions, and so forth, rather than using it to fill out. So like Ani said, I started a business just myself, and a couple of friends that I hired, very, very bootstrap. Year by year, it grew to literally, I'm still on the board, and I did sell to private equity. You know, we're at a run rate of about $80 million per year. We have employees in 7 states, and I retired in 2019, and now I'm back at the very scrappy entrepreneurial stages again. So this presentation is actually something that's really great for me to listen to. Okay, I am going to attempt to share my screen. And then I'm going into slideshow. How does everything look? Good, okay, and we're gonna talk about customers. And I want to start by asking you guys to resist thinking about marketing to them and selling to them at this moment in time, although it'll be hard to resist. This is really about who are they in the first place. So Ruby Receptionist, it's a virtual receptionist company. It really helps small businesses deliver a great personal presence to their business when somebody calls them at a fraction of the price of a traditional in-house receptionist. We use technology and real people to do it. So when I think about who my market is, I thought it's small businesses, right? It's every small business. Every small business that's out there, why wouldn't they want to use a virtual reception service where they could to gain and retain customers? So you guys are going to go over this in an exercise next week. But the first and most important thing when understanding your customer is make sure there are enough of them. So even if you only capture a fraction of them, they are that is enough for a sustainable and healthy growing business and for you to achieve whatever goals you set out to do in your business. So for example, in Ruby, we understood there were, there's something like 28 million businesses. But when we did the math and really looked at it, like, a good 21 million of them were sole proprietors, perhaps incorporated, but weren't even really technically a business, and had fewer than $50,000 in sales every year. Well, if you have $50,000 in sales every year, you're probably going to use a different solution for communication. You're either answering the phone yourself, or you're using voicemail, and that's the choice you have. So we called it down and we figured it out that there was still, out of that 28 million, about 3 million businesses that really could technically be qualified as a customer for Ruby. And so we came up with, our market was just billions and billions of dollars. And you guys will go through this exercise next week, but it was like, if we could capture just a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of those customers, then, we'd be a crazy success. So for you guys, your exercise will be next week is Caroline can walk you through figuring out really truly what is the addressable market that you guys have. It's really figuring out the number of potential customers that are out there, whether it's geographically based or demographically based, and then what is your average sale price, and and figuring that out. So if you get through that exercise and it's not enough to sustain the business, then it's time for a relook at a business. So that I just wanted to mention sizing your market at the very get-go, because it's one of those on or off types of things. If you don't have the size, you won't have the business. But once you have that, it really is calling out who really is your customer. And for Ruby, again, because our market was so huge, something like 7 million businesses that could use our service. And just like perhaps most of you that are starting out super, shoestring marketing budget, we didn't have the resources to go after all of them. So it's really about like, okay, how do we figure out who these people are so that, again, we only need a tiny fraction of them to be successful? What's the most likely and aligned tiny fraction that makes sense for Ruby? So for us, we take a look at the benefits and features that our service offers. So if you think about, I'm going to try to use examples of perhaps a brick and mortar business, an online business, this is a service to business, perhaps you have each out to consumers. But when you think about your particular features and benefits, they will resonate to some and just will not matter to others. So ours were about giving really great first impressions. That's number one, having a real super friendly person instead of a machine or an unfriendly, unknowledgeable traditional answering service. Great first impression was a key feature. Well, that mattered to many businesses, but not all. For example, attorneys who one customer could be like $30,000 of business, one new client. It was super important. Same thing with financial planners. Financial planners generally had a high net worth customer, and without a great first impression, their clients would not feel important and might go elsewhere. So that was key number one feature that we looked at when we looked at really figuring out who our customer really was. Flexibility was another key feature because we could just get calls to people anywhere they worked, whether it was outside on the road, or whether it was in their home office, or whether they weren't available to take calls at all and needed us to handle that. That was another key benefit. Well, that really resonated to those in the consumer services, such as like construction, roofing, landscaping, other businesses where it was really important not to miss the call, but they were busy and they couldn't be in an office to answer every call. Realtors, those kinds of things. So flexibility was one of the key features that by nature the service that we created offered, and that really resonated to other customers. Ruby has your back, not having to stress and not having to worry, that knowing every single call is answered and someone's friendly, that cares about the outcome. That actually really resonated with customers across industries, but that goes more into into customer personas, and we'll get into that, as well. And then value, the service we offered was a fraction of the price of a receptionist. That was very important, as long as it was important to everybody, but people had to start with the assumption that my business is going to have somebody answer the phone. So, and that also resonated with different customers. So taking a look and thinking about your customers, and let's start with who you think your customers are. So, take a moment in your head, like, oh, my customer are consumers, or my customers are small businesses. Well, in both cases, those are so broad, and it really doesn't tell you too much about who you say that. My iPhone is giving me guff. Who those customers are. So, and we're gonna have to generalize. We're gonna have to, actually make assumptions about people that aren't necessarily going to be true in every case. But generalizations will help you when you really have limited time and resources to reach your ideal customer. So I still ask you, if adults are your customer, well, who are they? How old are they? What gender are they? Where do they live? Are they in a city? Are they in a small town? Are they rural? For us, looking at small businesses, we took a lot of time. This is for us is backward looking. You guys have the advantage of learning this from the get-go. For me, I really did start out thinking every possible small business would be great. Well, it turns out that once we reached 1,000 or so customers, we currently have like 11 or 12,000. The demographics were pretty set, and turns out that for our small business customers, 2 to 5 employees, literally half of our customers were the size of 2 to 5 employees. So when we say small business, it's not generally the small businesses that have 75 employees. And even though most businesses are sole proprietorships, that was really only 20% of our customers. So really understanding our sweet spot of the, essentially 1 to 10 employee that's our customer base, really not anybody else. So if you think about trying to really cull down of all the human beings out there, what is the customer segment for your business? And then we looked at industry, and turns out, attorneys became like, we didn't even realize until we did a simple analysis and realized that something like 30% of our customers were solo and very small firm attorneys. And then once we learned that, we really started marketing to them and going to their conferences and meeting them where they were. But attorneys, like, all of our features and benefits were just a natural for the needs of an attorney, where one customer had really high dollar value of revenue. And then, it went down the field, but there were just 5 or 6, and later actually we targeted construction as our services changed and our features and benefits changed. Construction became one of the top 5 customers, mainly because we changed our offering and language and marketing methods around that. So you can also decide who your customer is and cater your product and service to them. We also learned about our customers that it wasn't just any small business. Actually, startup businesses, they were doing everything themselves. That they were not in a position to outsource key information and key functions of their business. And in fact, surprisingly, even though most businesses are younger than 10 years, most of our customers had been in business for 10 years or longer. So it was this discovery that our service really resonated with people who had already made they understood they needed that phone piece was really key. And maybe it took a long time for them to realize that. So, and then we also had, tried to segment further. Well, our customers, if they got too big, they were doing something in-house. And if they were too small, we were just not an economical solution for them. So we kind of figured out the sweet spot for our customers was that they were doing about $500,000 in revenue every year. So these are just some basic kind of demographic, if you will, for small business information. But you guys can do the same whether you have a consumer business or a professional business or any of the above. Just basic calling down who your customers are. We then were able to look at it in terms of, also surprisingly, because we offered service across the country, geographically, it turned out our customers were much more likely, even disproportionately to the population, to come from larger cities. And it made sense because in larger cities, perhaps employment and office space was much more expensive and harder to come by than small cities. So that was really helpful when we started mass marketing. So as you're filling out your customer, I don't know if your key benefits. So if you match your key benefits and go, well, who really cares about them? Like if one of your, let's say you have a competing product and maybe it's cheaper than what's out there already. Well, who cares about that? Maybe it's higher quality, a different demographic or personality will resonate with that. So think about your key benefits and who are they valuable to. And so if you're having trouble understanding, if you don't know who your target customers are yet, and perhaps that's where you are in this exercise, today you get to be very unscientific. You get to make just general assumptions and general guesses. Think about why did you go into the business in the first place? Perhaps you are your original best customer, and maybe you started the business because you felt like there was nothing else in the market that answered your need. Or you used to work for someone and you're like, I can do that better. Well, why? What is that better? So if you don't know your customer, make assumptions and really ask yourself, why did you go into the business in the first place? And I think you'll get some of those answers. Now, over time, I hope that this presentation stays with you, because it really is so valuable in making the most of every dollar you put into improving your products or services or expanding, and certainly in your sales efforts and certainly in your marketing efforts. So over time, as you get to know your customers and you get those opportunities to interview them personally, or you get to look at your own customer data and, and get some of this information yourself, you can correct assumptions. I was the quintessential small business owner, so I made a lot of assumptions that every single small business owner was like me. And a lot of that turned out to be true, but a lot of it was false. For example, I'm much more of a risk taker, and I thought of entrepreneurs as risk takers. Well, it turns out that many of our customers that had been in business 10 years or longer were actually not risk takers at all. And I needed actually survey data to see that. So, so as you're thinking about that, if you just don't have the answers, make an educated guess. You went into this business for a reason. So your guesses are going to be good ones, and then use real data to validate as you go through your business lifespan. All right, so getting to know your customers. So what are the things that you really beyond geography and industry? Like once you figure out who these people are, like who are they really? We took 4 vertical strategies. This is actually something out of a deck from our marketing team that was like, okay, attorneys are just the number one customer. And we didn't even target that, as I mentioned in the beginning. Well, why is that? Well, they turned out to be, again, that one customer so valuable. They also had, billable time. And so if they were answering the phone, it got very awkward about whether they're billing or not. They needed to do the things they needed to do and not be distracted. And one thing we learned about them too, that was really, really valuable, they all work with each other. They were all calling each other, even if they were on opposite sides of the coin. So they created a natural viral marketing strategy for us, because more attorneys would use, oh, who answered your phone? They're so friendly. For them, we got to know them, and we understand what they truly cared about was, missed calls or missed opportunities. And they also really needed that information for new customers. There was this thing called customer intake that I knew nothing about, but it was an industry buzzword for them. And so we started offering, customer intakes. People wanted to be able to, attorneys wanted, most businesses want to grow their practice. That was not universal to attorneys, but accurate billing was, for example. And because we had the feature in all of our calls were timed, and everyone had a member services app and website. So being able to accurately bill for time when we transferred a call was also a key feature. And we ultimately integrated into some of the largest small firm practice management software, which became yet another key benefit. So thinking about what matters to attorneys, like accurate billing, that just doesn't matter to a financial professional, but it really mattered to attorneys. And so if you think of going back to all your features and benefits, all your features and benefits don't matter to every one of your customers, but if you can pick out the 2 or 3 that really matter to the particular customer segment you're targeting or selling to, or even just talking to while they are actively using your product or service, that can help. So we also had, I mentioned, I can't see the top. I'm assuming this is financial. Oh, no, this is contractors. So what's funny about what we learned about contractors when we got to interview them was they hated losing out to the competition. They were actually, just on a whole, not to again, here I'm generalizing, but contractors were terrible at answering their phone, like just terrible and bad about getting back to customers, but they truly cared. They just weren't, it just wasn't something that they were able to do. So we were really able to help there. But what turned out to be the best key message for us is that, hey, we called you, got your voicemail, we went with the other guy. Like that just was enough to, we can't have that. And that gets into the quadrant about fears and frustrations that we'll get to. So for construction, there were very key benefits. Our mobile app that allowed people to take calls from anywhere and send a call to voicemail, right? That became really, really key to somebody on the go versus, an attorney who's in their office all day. Hopefully you guys are getting the idea. Like, we have these key features and benefits, but a particular type of business really mattered differently in different ways with different messages for different customer segments. So I'm going to skip over the other two. So that was something that we did, I would say middle stage of our life. And we got to about year 15, but 14 or 15, and realized we'd really never done a true customer survey to truly understand who these people were. And we use this marketing data and this messaging and talking to them, but when we developed our product organization, we really started to get into the real actual personality of customers and why they actually were using why and how they're using our service. So that's another stage of learning, where you make these assumptions, like, here's the features and benefits that are helpful to you. But then retroactively find out, well, are they actually using them as you intended them to use, as you advertise for them to use? Is that really what's going on? So for Ruby, what was interesting is not only did we find out that our customers weren't necessarily using us the way we thought they would. Like, for example, the business was built on every single solitary call comes to us. We try to get it to the right person. If they've marked themselves in a meeting or unavailable, then we take message or we answer questions. Otherwise, the call gets transferred to them. But many customers use this the opposite. They had an in-house receptionist and we were the overflow, which became a whole different marketing strategy for a whole different customer segment. Another thing that was really interesting that we learned is that we also got to study retention. So for a subscription business, I don't know if you guys go through this, but keeping a customer paying every single month is so much less expensive than having to go out and getting a new customer and having to onboard them and pay for that marketing. But we also learned that customers that were using the actual products and services and features that we developed, because we were listening to them, oftentimes they didn't know about them or just didn't take the time to learn those features, and they actually churned or canceled more than those that were regularly using our app. And that was another key insight that we got from our customers, is just because we're saying, hey, this is a really cool feature that will help you, if they weren't using them, they didn't get the value. And so that began a whole process of customer engagement and customer onboarding and training and just really trying to get everyone to use what they paid for, using all the features and benefits that we had developed with our mobile app and web services. So all right, so here's that moment where you can stop and just make that list of your customers. What do you know about them? You probably know more than you think you do, but maybe you've never really stopped to think, why should I care? Or like, I think for me, like, doing this exercise came later in life, and it was such an aha moment of, why didn't I do this sooner? But if you have been listening to this and you find yourself with more questions than answers, that's also hopefully insightful of figuring out, like, okay, well, what road do I need to go on to find this information out? So if you are new to business, you can interview potential customers, you can interview industry leaders within your potential customers, you can interview competitors. And if you have real customers, finding ways to really get them to spend some time with you and answer even things that have nothing to do with your business. Like, what music do they listen to? family vacation habits, some of those things can end up being very insightful to your product and service. So all that, comes together in sort of this customer persona exercise that we're going to get to by the end of today. And you get all this information and you're able to start really getting deep into the why of it all. So this quadrant talks about sort of the emotional drivers of your customers once you know who they are. You have your positive on the right, your negative, but generally people move out of one of these things. Their fears and frustrations on the negative side. Like I'm really, I'm scared my business will go out of business if I don't take care of customers. I'm afraid everything will fall apart. Frustrations like I can't get any work done. The phone's always ringing. And then aspirations and wants and needs. So aspirations like growing your business. This is all Ruby customer, aspirations. Oh, the aspirations of your customer. So a customer might be like, oh, I hope to grow big one day. I hope to be awarded, this distinction. I hope to be this. That is something that ends up being in our messaging and even affecting the product and service offering. And then wants and needs are like, I need this taken care of right now. I need it. Who's available to do that? And that, and so if you're a product company, maybe you spend most of your time thinking of your customers in the wants and needs category, but take the time to try to put some of these statements into each one of the categories. Don't leave any out. So at Ruby, by the time we had, when I started out, I was super scrappy, everything, just on my own, had to look up how to market on the internet. I didn't have the amazing program from Oregon Rain. But later on we had a user experience department, a product department, and they really did the real work to come up with these customer personas. And I have to say, these customer personas that they came up with, I actually did not believe them. I actually assumed that they had not interviewed an adequate number of customers to even come up with this. But turns out our customer, once all this work had been done, was so different than I originally thought. The idea, I am not a cautious person, so I assumed every small business was not a cautious business owner. But turns out our customers oftentimes were cautious. And so if you think about your customers and all the things that you can learn about them, this page kind of summarizes some of these things. And if you're a marketer, those of you that are the marketing mentors, you probably like, oh, it's a gold mine. I know exactly where I'm going to reach this customer. I know what the messaging is going to be, so this is the foundational work that happens to make the absolute most of your sales and marketing efforts. And also the foundational pieces when you're making those decisions to, buy that key piece of equipment or invest in your mobile app or expand into another region. Those yes or no decisions can be absolutely helped by truly understanding who your customer is. So Cautious Carol, we did everything from pegging their age, that was the average age of our customer, to their career, and this person was in health services. But they had, on this page, and there's a part in the persona exercise for you to talk about brands. I'll just check. If you notice these brands on this page, Smith Tea, Teva sandals, that has nothing to do with Ruby at all. But if you were to look at this page and, oh, this person drinks Smith tea and wears Teva sandals, would you have in your mind maybe some assumptions about what that person does in their spare time, or how that contributes to their Cautious Carol name, and perhaps even where they live? They like apartment therapy, so maybe design, that's a website that goes apartment remodels and whatnot. So maybe aesthetic is really important to this person. So you can think about brands that essentially emulate the feeling of identity of these personas. So what they're motivated by, what their pains and expectations and needs are, and this is available. There's a lot of information on here, but this is the information that you guys will have access to, and you can kind of see like all the things that you can take the time to think about that maybe you just didn't think about your customers before. So, and we had dependable Danny. Again, 2 personas that I just was like almost in disbelief that these were our actual customer personas, but they were just a call of literally hundreds and hundreds of interviews and then dozens of actual live and in-depth discussions. So that's the persona. Oops, we got one-on-ones and winners coming up. And oh, I've got 5 minutes for questions before we go to breakout. And I'm hopefully can clarify anything. And I'm excited to see you there.
Actually, Jill, your questions are gonna come after the breakout session.
Okay.
Although I do have a few questions that I wrote down over here, if you don't mind. Okay, so let's see. One of the questions, well, somebody asked what a vertical strategy is, but I did see that there were some clarifications over there. Now this one says, Jill, looking back, and when you took a look at who your customers were and ended up marketing more to them, when you're starting from ground zero and you have no customers, only those that you think are potential customers, how would you evaluate which customer is the best initial target?
Yeah. Okay. Great example. So, okay. So we had customers like, for example, financial planners. Our service was so great for financial planners. Every one of our benefits really resonated with them. But here's the challenge with financial planners. They had lots of regulation. And in order to use our service, that actually had to go through a master broker, approval process. So while they were allowed to use us, they were so heavily regulated that they wouldn't just answer an ad. So financial planners became our ideal customer, but you could not reach them through advertising or marketing or outbound sales. The only way they would come to us is through customer referral. Trust mattered so much to them. It was a very expensive customer to obtain. We actually had to drop them as a vertical strategy. Vertical strategy being like, okay, within the small business, we're going after this industry and this industry. Conversely, the attorneys that, as I mentioned, they were calling each other. They really were game to try whatever. We had a free trial. Like, they just signed up, they called each other. The referrals from one another were so great that they were easy to meet. They had trade associations. Every single solitary attorney belonged to a bar association. So it was just easy to get them. So to answer your question, just because someone is if you have 5 ideal customers, one of them is going to be the easiest to find. And I'm going to leave it to the marketing professionals to help you figure out where to go. But that's when you're starting from, I don't have any customers, you need the easiest ones to reach, not just the perfect customer. It's the low hanging fruit. So for attorneys, we would go to bar association meetings. We would just talk to the bar associations and we'd set up a member agreement for free. And that really helped accelerate. And then we tried to become expert in the industry. So when you're deciding that very first customer, the easiest to approach and find and willing participant is definitely the most important of those features.
Wonderful. So we're going to go to another questions after the breakout. This was a really good question. I think it helps a lot. There's one thing I would like to do before we go into the breakout session. And let me share my screen over here. We have the winners.
Oh, did I? Sorry, did I give that up?
So from every time that you guys come into a live session, you become eligible for some one-on-one time with either the speakers or professionals that we choose that we believe is going to add value to your business and is going to improve your marketing strategy. So for one-on-one time with Robert, we have Sean Ramirez, Tiffany Stevenson, and Lina Hassan Seda. Excuse me if I completely pronounce your name wrong. We will send you guys an email so that you can coordinate with Robert. So don't worry if you missed it. So I hope this is an incentive for you guys to show up and come to his session knowing that you can earn more than just knowledge. All right, so that's all I wanted to do on this one session. Now we can go out into the breakout sessions. I just want to especially thank Nate and Anna and all of the mentors and facilitators for helping renaming everybody. Like I mentioned, next week is going to be easier and we're going to be able to breathe a little better. So, all right, Nate, take us to the breakout rooms.
Yeah, and if you happen to be in a different breakout room than you were last week, that might be just because we're trying to keep the numbers roughly equal so that folks can have the best chance to be able to participate. So thanks for that. All right, we'll see everybody. Again, Ani, is this 15 minutes again? How long for these breakouts?
Yep, around 15 minutes will be good.
All right, so see everybody at 10:05. Thanks.
Thank you.
Nate, if you
As always, breakout sessions are too short. It doesn't matter how long we make them. In part, I hope you guys know that you can use your mentor hours to continue to elaborate on those things. These are smaller groups. And so if you feel like, sometimes you just don't have enough time to be able to really get this information digested and all, mentor hours are really good for that. And you get a little bit more of personal attention there. And also if you end up needing more time in order to address something, just keep that in mind. What are the things that you want to be able to really deepen into? Because that's when you're going to be able to choose in a couple of ways. You're going to be able to start choosing who you are going to work with one-on-one as part of our raindrops program. So just keep that in mind. What thing do you feel that is going to be the most useful to you? And if you need some guidance onto how to make that decision, feel free to reach out, because that way you guys can get the most out of the program as possible. Okay. Now Zach is saying here, feel free to reach out directly to him on zach@oregonrain.org. Let's see, to Seth, you wanna ask a question? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Not me. I was just saying that it seems like the protocol in direct, what's it called, mentor hours is you got to go to the reactions menu and then raise your hand in order to get called on if you want to ask a question in the mentor hours. That's all I was going to say to people.
Thank you. That's my question. Thank you.
You guys can do this. So I started doing the events on the Facebook group. I know some of you do not use Facebook, but that is a good place where you can post your questions so we can make sure that we answer those. Another thing you can do is just email me directly with questions that you have, and then we can just make a list so that that's there and we can address your questions. I do see that Robert raised his hands and then disappeared completely. So I don't know if he's okay.
I'm still here. I was just going to reiterate what you just said, that the Facebook group has over 130 people in it. That's from the previous cohort and this one. And there have been some excellent conversations already, helping just collaborative discussion around people's questions on that group. So if you're participating there, that's a great place to work out some of these questions.
Thank you. I just found it. It looked great.
All right. Now, Marty, you have a question.
Yes, a question, not actually more of a comment as well. I just want to thank you guys for putting Jill first this time in the lineup of stuff. Well, I guess second after Robert, because I was sent a message to her directly, and I also put it in the chat that because of her persona work, I basically have had to restructure my whole business. So it's kind of a good and a bad thing, I guess. But I love what she does. I love how this is all set up for us to kind of drill some things down. So just fantastic presentation. So thank you.
Thanks, Marty. And also, I'm sorry.
It looks like Joe has a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm seeing lots of comments, and I'm seeing like, it's really hard. And you do not have to follow this exactly verbatim. Even your customer, could also define how you figure out who your customer is. So start with the easy stuff and try to, I apologize if this sounds really complicated. It should just be really getting to know your customer in the easiest way you know how, and figuring out the easiest things to get to know first.
Yes, I mean, you guys, like, there are a lot of tools that you're gonna get here that you should just have handy. And one of them is the customer persona template. Because as you get into business, this is going to change. You're going to be able to really figure it out. Like with me, I was like, oh no, my customers are between 25 and 35. Wrong. It turns out that most of the ones that have been buying are people that I did not even expect. Like husbands are buying a gift at the last minute. And those are really good spenders. So, and I did not take that into consideration when I was making my customer profile, because my end product was guided to women. But there are people in between that are making the decisions, and they might be the ones that are making the transaction. So keep that in mind as you go on. You might need to do more than one customer profile, because you have different people that are making those decisions. If you are working in wholesale, then you have your retailers is a customer profile, but then your consumer itself is a different profile. So this is something that, is going to evolve with time, and I don't want to scare you about it. Just start. Nothing has to be perfect. It's just that first step for you to refine it. Yes, I have a question around. No?
Go for it, Joe. Did you have something, Joe?
Yes, thank you. One of the things that I heard, somebody said that people may not have time to do the persona or the application. One of our core values in our company is that we sort of, I don't know if it's judge or we have a pre-screening process, and we're also in that spot in our business where that's important, but we want to know how in-depth somebody is or how committed somebody is to doing what we do. We provide services to grow events in communities. We want to know what someone's sphere of influence is, or if they even know what a sphere of influence is, and what their connections are to the community before we even start our process. We say to somebody sometimes, maybe right now is not the time for you to start this. Maybe you need to evaluate what you're doing currently in yours. So we're helping someone else build their business as well. But we also want to know, is our time going to be spent productively with this person at the level they are in the process of what they're doing? And we're also, our core person is somebody who's either an M&L, a multi-level marketer, or a crafter within a neighborhood or a community that they themselves are going to run a event to not only promote their own business, but give local vendors and crafters the ability to sell as well. So I hope that made sense, but I really think that if you bring value to your own business when you present to a customer, you also create intrigue and wealth and importance in your own business as well. Have a little bit of belief in yourself that what you're offering is enough to ask somebody to do something for you before you even start the relationship.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe, for sharing those insights with us. Let's see, do we have any more questions? Any comments? Something that you have discovered today about your customer?
Nate's got one, then Jenny.
All
Hey,
right. Thank
Ani,
you.
I had somebody reach out to me with a question. They feel like they have a lot of people who are, following them who like their business but aren't necessarily customers. So there's kind of a challenge of people who like you and like what you're doing versus people who are actually going to pay you for your products. How do you kind of get beyond just people who like you for what you're doing?
Robert, I'm gonna let you take this one because, to be honest, I find myself in a similar situation and I haven't figured it out. So, Robert, take it away.
Well, I think at this point, there's a lot of opportunity to build enthusiasm behind your brand on social media. That doesn't always convert. Now, there are two ways to approach that. One, you can simply focus on the low-hanging fruit, who is actually converting, and then focus on that message. Some of the people who like you, they just like you because you are the daughter of their best friend. But others will find you, will take those messages and you can convert them. The other is to spend time. If you've got a big list of people who like you, utilize poll functions. Figure out what they're, why they are there. Utilize the technology that's available to you to figure out what their pain points are. Maybe you simply haven't recognized why people are liking you yet. So more data, more research on that group. It's a huge, as somebody put in here, a huge conversion opportunity. If you've got people following you that aren't yet customers. So there might just be more research you need to do there.
Yeah,
Jill?
I was going to add to that too. Just simply ask them why, especially if you're in good favor with them already. Ask them what it would take for them to be a client. That might be something that you add in as a fear. You might have that whole group and they're holding back for a specific reason, and it might be consistent enough that that's something that you can use to help overcome with future clients down the road. So great question. And I think we got Jenny up next. Jenny, you want to take it away?
So my question is, and I think that this is going to require more than just a couple minutes, but I'd like to get some ideas. I don't have any, I've just done the marketing that other professional organizers have done. I don't have a marketing background or any business background, except for just what I've learned doing my own business, which is a lot, but there's still a lot I don't know. So I am interested to find out, how do you translate what you know after you create a very detailed avatar? I call it an avatar, about them. How do you convert that to your marketing strategy to reach them and to convert them? So it's a big question, I know.
I'll take that. So that's actually what the rest of this is. If you take a look at the framework, the marketing framework, and I wanted to mention this anyway, we didn't mention it earlier. Everybody last week, and everybody should have received a document that's a single page marketing framework that asks simple questions. The idea with that framework is that as you take this course and you fill out, just answer those questions simply and concisely, at the end of these 10 weeks, you should have not only a clear understanding of who your customer is, but the different strategies and techniques you're going to use to reach them. So over time, hopefully the answer to that question will become very clear.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I just received a Slack message from our CEO, and I'm going to go ahead and just commandeer the conversation here for just a second. We have put together a survey. It's a post-pandemic survey, and we're really hoping it's post-pandemic, right? I just put this in the chat. We're collecting data about how the pandemic these last 2 years have had affected businesses and kind of where you are now in the process. If you haven't taken that, we have over 200 responses, but we're really trying to get that number up closer to 300. If you could provide your insights about what the last couple of years have looked like, I hate to pull you back into that state of mind, but it's really valuable for us. We're going to be utilizing this with our state legislators and people around the state to help create greater opportunities for entrepreneurs across the state. So if you have a chance, please take that.
Where did you want us to put that, Robert?
Where is that?
Oh,
You
I'm
can
sorry.
share it on the chat.
I just shared the link in the chat.
Yes.
Is that
And-
the main
and-
catalyst? Oh,
Yeah.
okay, there it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And since we're on that, I do have a poll for you guys to figure out what the best time for mentor hours is. As we have some of the mentors as speakers ask if connecting after the session is a good time or not. So I'm just gonna pull out this very simple poll. You only have 3 ones to choose. And then that way I can finalize those times so that, you know, we have as many people as possible being able to join. I know some of you, the afternoon one has coincided with picking the kids up at school and things like that. So let's just figure that out. And I will be sharing with you the finalized mentor hours so that you have them until the end of the program. That way you can plan which mentor hours you can go to. We did make this be part of the requirement to graduate to attend at least 5 mentor hours. There are about 13 of them throughout the program. So you're able to choose. They're all in different days and times of day, but I do want to make sure that most of you are able to attend at least those 5, okay?
And then we did have a question too in there. If and for Robert and Ani, if they've already filled out the pandemic, the survey that Robert just put on there, should we have them do it again or should they hold off?
No, do not take, you don't need to take it again. We're just trying to capture as much data as possible, but thank you for asking.
Where do you find the list of mentors? Is that on the RAIN website?
So I copied all the mentors and facilitators to the message that I sent yesterday about today's session. And I am going to send a finalized list for each of you so you know who your mentor and your facilitator is. This is for your cohorts themselves. But like I do want you guys to know that this network of mentors that we have are available to help you in any way that they can. So if you end up connecting to a different mentor that is not necessarily in your cohort, you could have the opportunity to work with them. So you know that's part of the idea too behind the mentor hours that are led by your cohort mentors, is that way you get to know them a little bit more, and if you want to work with them one-on-one, then that's something that we can arrange in the future here. So it does look like we have a pretty good tide between in the afternoon and in the morning for mentor hours. It doesn't look like right after class is very popular, and I get it. It's a long time to be on the computer.
Yeah, I didn't see. I went to go look at your emails. I didn't get that one, so that'd be great.
Okay. We did have a little mess up with emails. So I'll be trying to check that you guys get all of the information that you need. If you have not received any emails or any calendar invitations from me, let me know so that I can take care of it, okay? All right, so let's share a few more things here that we have prepared on the slides, and then we can continue to have more questions, okay? So I'm gonna share my screen. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about next week. So next week, we're going to have Ellen Yin. Ellen Yin kicked off our last program, and you guys loved her. We thought it would be valuable for her to come back. And in this opportunity, she's going to be talking about how to increase your business visibility on a $0 budget. And this is very focused on traditional media, on publicity, and being able to be featured on all of those things. We are going to raffle one-on-one time with Ellen. It's going to be 2 30-minute sessions, essentially. So you can go to that first session, digest everything that you learned there, apply it, and then you'll go back and do another session with her. We're going to be raffling 3 of this. So this is, I was talking to Anna earlier today. she did mention that, you know, we should only raffle with people that are connecting live. I did add people that, you know, were watching the recording and sending their takeaways, but I do think that it is more fair if we do it with people that are connecting and making that effort to connect at the time. I know sometimes we have conflicting schedules and all of that, but do know that at the end of the program, some of the prizes include very thorough one-on-one sessions with our mentors and speakers that are going to be very valuable for you. We're going to be talking about those prizes and things later in the program, but I do want you guys to know that once you submit your pitch, you are eligible for a whole bunch of other things. Okay, so last year we ended up giving some of you a kit of products to improve your content, especially video. And so we included a ring light, a phone stabilizer, a microphone, and then one-on-one time to be able to develop your strategy with a professional in digital marketing. And we're doing something similar this time around as well. So just keep that in mind. This is just a little bit more about this program that you guys can get, and that is going to help you go to this next stage of your business. So as a reminder, keep thinking about your needs for that one-on-one time as part of our Raindrops program that Anna is leading. So I don't know, Anna, if you would like to add anything about it or not. I'm not going to put you on the spot. And I think that with that, oopsie, I left the wrong slide over here. Let me return it so it's not on the record. All right, so let's open it up for questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you explain what, when we meet one-on-one with Anna, is that just for digital support or questions?
Okay, so that is a very good question. So
Okay.
you would actually meet with the mentors. Anna is going to be coordinating all of that.
Okay.
We are working on a website that you guys can book your own time with the mentors. That is coming up. Darren, Anna, and Robert are working on that to make it easier, because previously we were doing email introductions and then you had to coordinate with the person. And it was just all of these steps. We just want to reduce the steps so that you can have a more direct access to it. And so for people that are participating in RAINmaker, it is focused on digital sales and marketing. We are going to be launching the Moneymaker program, which is focused on financial everything. And on that one, you'll be able to get time with accountants, with CPAs, with bookkeepers, so that you can address financial things. But either way, depending on your needs, just let us know what you need, because we can see what we can do in that regard. Okay, we do have all of these resources available, and we do want to be able to help you in the best way that we can, that is actually going to help your business grow or survive, or whatever it is that where you're at right now. So yeah, just keep in touch, and let us know what you need. Just think about it, and even make a list. Just brainstorm on all the things that you need, because sometimes we need everything at the same time, right? So what we do is, let's make a list without any prioritizing. Just make a list of everything that you need, and then go back to it a different time and really like start seeing like what is your highest need. What is the one thing that is going to unlock all of these other things that you need, right? Like if you don't have your customer persona clear, or at least the start of it, then how are you going to target your audiences on your ads? You know, you need the customer persona in order to be able to target the right people. So oh, I need help with ads, but do you have your customer persona ready or not? Do you know what the tone of your message needs to be? Because if you know your audience, but you don't have a clear message, then they're not going to get it. You know, so it's like there are all of these things that end up, there's the one thing that unlocks all the other things. So just be thinking about that. You don't have to make a decision right away. but just start thinking about it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good info.
Ani, I have a quick question.
Yes.
You went over a lot of stuff right then. It's only a 10-week program. Is this something we can do again? Or is this our once and get everything in this 10 weeks? Or how does this exactly work? I'm not real clear on that.
Are you referring to the one-on-one time? Or are you
Basically
referring to the entire
everything,
thing?
because I'm one of those people that's kind of maintaining and I want to grow now, right? So I have all sorts of things to social media, all sorts of things that I have to address. The financial stuff, do we have to do that all within this 10 weeks? That seems
No,
like
you don't. No, you don't have to do everything at the same time. That's just gonna make you crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
or crazier.
Right.
So focus on these 10 weeks, just focus on digital marketing, okay? And then when the time comes for the financial part, then we'll focus on the financial part. This program for financial literacy is going to be open for everybody again. This is going to be from July till September. And it's going to be a very similar format, 10 weeks, sessions like this, only one topic per week, because we were doing more topics previously on one session, and that proved to be a little bit too much. So we know that this is a lot of information for a short amount of time, but there is a reason why it's called an accelerator, because you just have to hit the pedal and keep going. So right. Hopefully we'll be able to get you in a place where you don't just like roll over, like when a wave just catches you, and we'll be able to like reach for air and have a better flow. Okay.
Great, thank you.
If I may add to this, Terry, I know you raised a great question. And if it brings peace to everybody here on this call, I would really like to mention this. I was with Oregon RAINmaker cohort program in 2021, which was last year. And then when I saw this opportunity for this cohort, I enrolled again, because again, like Terry is saying, it's very hard to consume everything in just 10 weeks, right? So you would want to revisit it if you can get selected again. So once you do this cohort, maybe you are eligible and maybe you can reapply for the next cohort. So again, it will be similar content, similar strategies, but something more for you to learn the next time. So you're not restricted just to 3 months. So I'm very glad I'm here. I'm very thankful that we have this opportunity again and again.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Pallavi actually was one of the winners of our last year competition. And you know, like we're super glad to see so many of you come back to these programs, because that really speaks about our work with it. And you know, that is just a really good sign. So do know that RAIN's help is here for the long run. Even if this program ends, you still have access to all of these resources that the organization carries as a whole. And this is not going to be your last chance to get help. Okay, so this is, let's just say this is the beginning of a huge journey, right? Like if this is your first time with us, you are able, if you are willing, to be with us for quite a long time. And if we are not specifically in one of your communities, RAIN only goes to communities that are invited to. So if you're somewhere where you know there's not a venture catalyst, where there is not an entrepreneur in community, reach out, because those are things that we can cater to. Those are things that we can figure out a way to be there. Right now we have some people from Island County in Washington, and they are here because we're starting that connection. Okay, so just know that that's a possibility too. Anything that you guys need, let us know, because that really informs us. That's part of why we ask for responses to the pandemic survey, because this informs our decisions too on how we can better serve you. All right, more questions. Jade and then Chad.
Real quick, the replays are in our Facebook group. So the replays from last time around, I believe, are still there. And the new ones will be there as we go through this. So if something didn't click and in 4 weeks you need to watch it again, you can go back and watch it. So we're not going to be there in our 10-week process yet. We will have it available. So no, sometimes some of us have to hear things 3 or 4 times. Sometimes we need time to integrate and process it. You've got that. So those resources will be there for you, along with continued support from RAIN in new and possibly different ways.
That is correct. And there's also, so we might change these guides on the Facebook group so you guys can find everything that is current. But all of those recordings live on our YouTube channel. So know that even if the Facebook group changes or if you don't use Facebook, those do live online in our YouTube channel. And I'm going to find the link while the next person asks the next question so I can post it here on the chat. So Chad, ask away.
Unmute there. So just related to today's session, I'm curious. I do a lot of tech stuff, and a lot of small businesses always want the knowledge. But as I look at that customer profile I'm trying to put together, how do I weed through all the businesses that just want the information on how to make video work for their own use instead of becoming a consultant? Because I offer it as a service, and I always find I end up in lots of sessions where I'm always having to explain how all the cameras and audios and everything's going to work for everybody, but people are more interested in taking notes on how to do it and aren't interested in hiring. Is there a way to target that better as I look to try to get paying customers instead of just being a knowledge base?
I could speak to that. So, it sounds like you've identified you have a specific avatar that's interested in your business that is interested in a product you currently don't offer. You're offering a service of knowledge, but you're not charging for it. It sounds to me like you've identified a new opportunity to make a new product offering, which could potentially be a course where you could charge, some money for people to learn those things from you. But what it sounds like is to tie it into this week's exercise, I would make that avatar for that client that's frustrating you, that's not buying from you, and name them, call them, Billy Kicks the Tires Smith. Okay. And he's interested in learning about how to do things, but he's not interested in buying. You have a picture of that person in your head. Do this exercise, make that persona for them. And then your next step would be, what kind of product could I offer this person they'd be willing to pay for? Right. Okay. And then if this isn't the kind of persona, the person, Billy Kick the Tires Smith, that I want to be serving, who is the persona that would actually buy my service and who I actually want to go find? Because you're currently not finding enough of those people. You're finding these other types. So that would be my feedback for you on that.
I have a thing to add also, and I think it dovetails with Darren's, and that is sometimes I've had to add services to my roster specifically because I don't want to do them. And if they are, asking for A or paying for B, but they're trying to absorb my time on this other thing, well, it's easier to say, well, that is a service I offer, but you didn't pay for it, than to say, I just don't want to help you. So you can also put it on your services menu and price it. I don't know. You can put it there. It doesn't mean you want it.
Thank you, Darren and Dan, for those responses. Let's see, since Carolina Sima hasn't asked a question yet, let's give her the microphone and then we'll continue.
Hi, yes, can you hear me? Okay, actually that's my daughter's name. I'm Maggie. I forgot to change that again. So maybe this question I have goes back more to the other template we were given last week that we worked on with Robert, as far as who are we as a company? What service do we offer? And I've been doing a lot of thinking about that. And I don't know if there are other people on here that have experienced the same thing. A lot of times we start a business because we think we can offer something better or do it better than our competition. So it's kind of like a one-man show. But then when we want to grow, and if you build an identity around the fact that you can do that service better, I don't even know how to pose this question, but it becomes an issue because you need to duplicate that for your business on a different level. It's no longer the one-man show if you're going to grow a business. Does that make sense?
It kind of does. So I'm gonna try and see if I understood what you were saying. So, or if I didn't, just tell me you're completely out of it, Annie. So here's the thing. As you grow your business and as you realize what you're good at, there are things that you're gonna have to delegate. If you want to grow, you're gonna be able to grow more if you have people helping you do what they're good at, so you can focus on what you're good at. So part of your journey as an entrepreneur is being able to realize those things, because you do start with a passion, but then as you go through, you realize, well, not just passion is going to be able to grow my business. Like there are things that I need to focus on, and I have noticed that I enjoy doing this aspect more, and that I'm better at doing this aspect more. Like if you're really good at selling, then maybe that's what you need to be focusing on, but you cannot neglect all the other things. So you have to develop, well, first that vision where you realize these are the things that I need help with. These are the ones that I can tackle and really like invest my time in it and get results. Or these are the things that I need to delegate in order to be able to get to where I want to get to. So I don't know if that answered your question or not.
I understand that. So what I'm trying to get at is when you have a brand identity, because I think a lot of small businesses, unless you're marketing like an actual product, that it's an objective thing, I think a lot of businesses start out, what do? You do this better. And like, okay, in our sense, we're construction, so we build better, but your brand identity is, and in this case, it's not me, it's another person in the business, but your brand identity is that you are the person that makes the difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so now if you want to grow your business, you need to transition that, because you can't grow on that identity anymore. And I'm not sure how you do that transition. Maybe that's too big of a question for this forum.
So in that case, you essentially just develop what your core values are, right? What defines your brand identity? What defines your business? What makes it the best? Is it that you do all of the construction sites on time? That you have people with the right experience to be able to tackle each of the products? That you warranty your work for a certain amount of time? So what are those things that really make it the best? So yes, right now it is you and your person that is generating that. But as you grow, you need to have those core values in order to be able to transmit that to your staff, to the people that you work with, so that they then become an extension of all of that. If it only depends of you, it at some point is gonna limit the amount that you can grow.
Yeah, this
So-
is a, can I add? This
Absolutely.
is a very classic problem. You come in and you do a great job. Unfortunately, they want you, and there's only one. So, if you can figure out, you do 30 things. If you can figure out that there's 3 of them that are the reason why people talk about you and recommend you, then you can maybe train up somebody else. You have to figure out, how can I clone myself, which is super hard. But if you can break it down into, well, what do I do differently? And of those things, because you won't be able to clone yourself, maybe you do 30 things differently, but there's 3 that really make the difference. Then you can start to, clone yourself in the way that matters. And you have to take that at some point in that, you have to take a gamble and say, it's Joe now, or it's Joe and I are going to co-lead this, or whatever it is. And but that's kind of the way out. Develop develop procedures. Like I ask you, how do you do what you do? Well, I just know. Well, you have to be able to document what you do so that you can train somebody. There's an adage, if you what it usually applies to corporate world, if you can't be fired, you can't be promoted. It applies to yourself too. So and the other, sometimes people address that by not trying to charge themselves. If you can't duplicate yourself, maybe you'd be happy to charge more. So those are two possible ways forward. But like, you know, like Ani said, it starts with knowing what it is about you that people are really in love with, or your team member, etc.
So the reason also is because I've been working like on our website, on our Google Analytics thing, just getting into all of this digital marketing. And I started realizing as a small business, at some point, you're really going to go up against the competition that is a more established, bigger business. So when you are advertising, like on your website, really, if you look at some businesses, we're all saying the same thing: affordability, friendly customer service, right? So you really have to kind of have that, I don't know what it is, that slice that is going to let you compete in social media and everything against some of the businesses that may be like, just above you. They're not like the big conglomerate business, but just the next level above you, where that's where really you're trying to get to. So anyway,
you don't necessarily have to outperform the big guns to get some of the business. You don't have to be the absolute best at everything. Sometimes being present is good. And go back to your personas. Ask some of your really happy customers what it is about you, and maybe they won't reflect back those same old bullet points that are on, everybody else. Maybe they like that they can always get a hold of somebody. And if you had Ruby on board, well, your company can be reached a lot better than that big company that doesn't answer their phone and trades on billboards.
Thank you.
Sure thing. So let's take one more question. As you know, every good thing needs to end. But if you guys have any more questions that we're not able to address in this time, shoot me an email, and we'll address those. And I can make little videos to answer questions that most people have, like a frequently asked questions or whatever. Let's just work it out so that everybody can have all of their questions answered. Now let's see, we have Jenny with a question.
Hi, mine's pretty easy. So I'm looking at the template, which I'm going to be filling out. I'm going to interview some customers, some clients this week. And I'm really not sure what to put in the persona summary. Is this kind of what their character is like? Is this, because it's pretty short, it's got to be pretty short. So what are we looking for in that area?
I am box. So over there is like the essential things that describe this ideal customer is what will go there. I will focus more on like a good exercise is a day in the life of your ideal customer. That way you'll kind of like have an idea. You I don't know what the word is. Personify this profile essentially. And so that helps you see like, how does this person live? How does this person, what are their interests? How can I like capture their attention essentially? And then that can help, so like, don't on that summary, don't focus a lot on like, oh, they're 25 years old and they use this social media and then they do this other thing. I mean, it is good for you to know what kind of social medias they're using, but focus more on what their interests are. Like, are they outdoorsy or not? Do they care about, I don't know, I'm seeing crystals right now. So like, do they care about these crystals or not? Like, do they care about nature or are they city dwellers?
So that's what Robert said was so I'm sorry, I'm super linear thinker. So that sounds like almost exactly what Robert described as the influences. So is it pretty much very similar to their influences?
It's to their interests.
Ah, okay, so it is a little bit different. Okay, so the other thing I'm curious about, can you just give me an example of common words or expressions? It's the bottom, it's the lowest box on our sheet here. The common words or expressions used in relation to their product, service, or industry. And my clients don't always have a product, service, or industry. They're usually individuals. So what would I be looking for there?
So I think that this is mostly meant to pick up on keywords. So this is more related to your product and service. How do people pick that up? A
My
good
product.
exercise.
Okay.
A good exercise for this, because you can have an idea of what your product or service is, right? And you have this description in your head. But when you ask somebody else, you're looking at that from a very different perspective. And people, like you can be expressing something in a way, but people are receiving it in a different way. So when you ask people, like now that you're going to be doing some customer interviews, how do they describe your product or service? There are going to be some common things there. And then that's what you can use to be, I don't know if the person that was here asking about the core values and all of that is still here or not, but that's one of the things that you could use to describe that brand personality, that brand value, that differentiating aspect that you bring into the table. Because it's how people are perceiving it. So if I am your audience and I perceive it this way, then the way that you talk and the words that you use are something that I'm going to be able to find. So you want to make it easy for people to find you, right?
So I might think somebody's searching for organizing, but really they might put in the word,
how do I clean the chaos in my life?
Yeah, chaos or clutter, which I use those too, but yeah, okay. Very good. Thank you.
Of course.
Okay.
All right, everyone. So I'm going to let you all go. Please reach out if there are comments, there are questions, there are doubts, whatever it is. You know, usually on Wednesday mornings, it's a little bit difficult for me to answer all your questions over email, but I do try and catch up. And so, yeah, just let me know whatever it is that you guys need. And I will see you guys. Well, for those of you that are going to connect to the mentor hour, I will see you tomorrow. If not, then I will see you guys next week. Have a great day. Bye.